Right, so yes, well, actually, it's good afternoon. It's the day after. I was at the University of West London yesterday chatting to some second year students, actually, who are doing some business and events and hospitality courses, events very close to my heart. We had a good couple of hours of seminar talking entrepreneurship and a great Q&A. And, well, you can see we had quite a lot of questions left over, and I promised I would get up onto YouTube those questions that I didn't manage to answer. Well, let's get on with it. So here we go. Look, I kind of grouped them. I got a first bunch of questions here, and they're all kind of to do with starting business. So what's your advice to set up your own business? How did you start your own business? What inspired you to start your own business? So, well, let's kind of get down to that. I'll tell you, I didn't know I was going to start my own business. I really didn't, but I was always very motivated and driven, wanted to be the best and as good as I could be. And I built my career and I built my skills in an industry that I loved, which was communications and experiential events. And I rose up through the ranks, and eventually one day I did think, wow, I'm running a whole department here in a major agency, and I've learned how to run it, and I've learned how to grow it, and I've learned how to sell and bring more business in for it. But I'm in a great company. It was a really great company at the time. I loved it. But I thought, where do I go next? And actually, it was at that point, I suddenly thought, maybe the way to go next is not to run a company for somebody else, but to run a company for me. To be honest, a friend of mine, a really good colleague of mine, he actually offered me some money to set up my own company. He worked for another company, was a director, and that really made me think hard about setting up my own business. And I was inspired to do it because I just thought, if I set up my own business, I'll be in control. And the money that's being made and the profits will be mine. And I can take this business where I want it to go rather than having to report to others. So it kind of slowly emerged, really. But it was that desire to build something and create something and to be in control. And also, I'd always been looking around for the great idea to start my own business, and it never happened. And then suddenly I realized it was a bit of an epiphany moment, and I thought, actually, I love what I'm doing now. I love experiential and events and communications. Why don't I just do a business like this, which I'm really good at and I know all about? I know there were lots of other businesses, so the challenge is I've got to set up my own and just be better than everybody else, and that was the challenge. So, my advice then really to setting up your own business is go and try lots of things. Find out your passions. And once you've found them, and that might take a while, it might take a while, then think, okay, well, this is my passion. How do I invent a business in it? And then off you go. So, that's not bad. That covers like 3 questions in all one go. We'll get rid of that one. Oh, on the floor, there it goes. Interesting enough, I've gone for this one next because this is about funds. How did you acquire funds for your own business? And I got to say, lots of people talk to me because I mentor quite a few students in business schools, and they talk to me about the money they have to raise for their businesses. And I always say, before you go and borrow money, sit down and have a good old brainstorm. Do you need to? Is there a way, I call it, to kitchen table your idea so that actually with your own funds or without any funds, you can get this business going? You often hear, I was hearing Joe Malone on the radio the other week, and she started on a kitchen table. I started my business in the attic of a garage, for goodness sakes, with nobody else's money, just my own money and my business partner. And we threw in about, $6 or $8 grand each. We didn't pay ourselves for about 9 months, but we really looked to try and win business and use that business to finance and grow the business. So it grew slowly. But what it meant was, as time went by, all of the shareholding was just between me and my business partner, and we weren't beholden to any banks or investors or venture capitalists. So we really had control. So I always encourage people, when they're thinking about running their own business, to think about how they can do it without involving banks, venture capitalists. Find out how good you are first. And then once you've got the business going, then go to those people. They'll then be far more generous. You'll get a better deal, definitely, if you need to borrow money. I'm not saying borrowing money is bad, but you need to think about it hard before you do. Business partners. This one's about business partner. And someone's asked, should I business partner with a friend or with an experienced professional? That is a great question. I'm very lucky. My business partner, Ben, we've been together for 23 years. And actually, I knew him 8 years before. So it was a bit of both. Ben was an experienced professional. And he was a friend, though I would say, we knew each other through business. We only socialised maybe about once a year. But I liked him. But I don't think it matters whether it's a friend or a professional. I think the key thing is that you have trust between you. Yeah? And trust and integrity is everything. Do you know, I think it's amazing. Ben and I, we can go out we had a strategy walk a few weeks ago and 5 hours. Excuse me, I'm going to have a cup of tea. Hold on. Nice. And we talked for 5 hours while we walked around there. And this is like 23 years doing business together. But I don't think, obviously an experienced professional is good because they have insight into your business and what to do. But if you don't like them, or if you can't feel you can develop trust, because believe you me, when you set up a business, the entrepreneurial journey is well intense. I mean, I have a lovely wife. We've been married 25 years, and I would say that the relationship that I have with my business partner, Ben, it's that deep. I mean, we don't sleep together, right? But I definitely love him and he loves me in a business way. And there's an awful lot to fall out about and to discuss and to argue about. So trust is everything. You need to draft up, which we did right from the beginning, a whole series of rules of engagement to never let the passion get in the way of objectivity, to understand that if you disagree, that's fine. You just got to keep talking and keep looking. There are so many unspoken rules to make it work. Golly, I could make a whole video about partnership, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour. All right, where should we go next? These two are stuck together. If you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, what would it be? Whew, God. Do you know, I think one of the key bits of advice I'd give myself is to listen better. My goodness me, I'm a talker. I always remember a great sales director I really respect. He said to me, Simon, you got one of these and two of these. And you need to do it in the same proportion. So you need to be listening twice as much as you're talking. That took me a long time to learn. I wish I'd learned that earlier, to listen to people. Procrastination, how do you overcome it? Well, I got to tell you, if you really love your business and you are passionate about it, procrastination, I don't think it happens. Because you just want the business to succeed. The thing about being an entrepreneur is you're consumed by your business. I mean, that's the hard part. You think about it. You dream about it. You're with it every minute of the day and through the weekends, even through your holidays. It is all consuming. So if you're procrastinating, it's maybe because you haven't got your heart in it. Does the client give the budget, it asks? Well, that's a really great question. Lots of clients don't give a budget. And when you say how much money you've got to spend, they go, I don't know, you tell me. I got to tell you, I never take that answer. So when a client says they don't have a no budget, they absolutely do. So I always come back and I always say to them, I know you say you don't have no budget, or you don't want to give a budget indicator, let's speak English. But if I come back with a response as £100,000, are you falling off your chair? And it's amazing how often they'll go, I don't have a budget, but yeah, if you come back at £100,000, I'm falling off my chair. So then I go, what about 25? Are you feeling a bit more comfortable? So you can ask fun questions in the right kind of way to always get a feel for budget. But don't go into a tender or bidding or sales process with no understanding of budgetary parameter. Money counts. So yeah, there you go. That's my thoughts on that. What advice can you give for working in groups? Lots of advice. So let's kind of roll a few things off. When you're working in groups, and I imagine these are new groups, before you even get going, get to know each other. Get to know your names, tell each other a little bit about yourself. I think also try and get everyone to talk about the strengths that they've got. What do they think they're good at? What do they think they're not good at? So then you start to understand this, the dynamic of the group. Because you might find you've got somebody here who loves numbers, who's great at budgeting. You might find someone who's really great at sketching. So they'll be really good at drawing. And you think, actually, we can do a response that's quite visual. You might have someone who's quite musical, who can write and compose music. I mean, you just don't know. So before you even start brainstorming out the idea, find out. Yeah. I think then, when you're working with a team, define some rules. Yeah. No idea is a bad idea. So no one gets slagged off. Everybody has maybe a couple of minutes and then, you got to move on. Yeah. Decide who's going to take the notes. So define the parameters of your exchange and then you'll have group dynamic. I think when you get going as well, create an agenda. So how long is this meeting for? Always think about the outcomes. What are the objectives of this team meeting? When we finish, where do we want to be? What do we want to have achieved? And then define the process. To get those outcomes, what have we got to do? Brainstorm out the idea, identify the budgets, allocate the roles, all of that, and then put times against it. I know this all sounds clinical, but honestly, how many of you have been to meetings with teams where you thought, well, that was a waste of time. I didn't say anything, needed anybody else. It overran and we didn't have any of the objectives met. And that is because you didn't clinically think about it. Yeah. So do that. Oh, this is an interesting one. What should I have done better? ? I had to plan a 21st birthday jungle party. I had $6,000. I lost the project because I felt too intimidated by the whole idea. Well, if I've got this right, you basically thought this was too much of a responsibility for you to take on. Well, folks, in life, if you're going to be entrepreneurial, you have to be bold and you have to take risks. And my advice to you is when you feel intimidated, don't internalize it. Go and talk to people. Talk it out. Why do you feel intimidated? Try and understand what's in the way. Because fundamentally, entrepreneurial attitude and success is about going to places that feel uncomfortable and taking on new experiences. So this was a new experience for you. I mean, £6,000 is a lot of responsibility and you didn't want to let anybody down. But, if it felt lonely and it felt too much of a risk, you want to find people with experience to talk it out and understand and identify why those fears are there so you can remove them and overcome them. Because I think actually what a shame, to have a £6,000 budget, right now to organise a party. Yeah, you can eat it for breakfast, but you need experience and help and advice, so seek it out. What is the expenditure needed to be made in order to get ready for a bid? But essentially, what you have to do is decide exactly what the bid's going to look like. What are all the materials you're going to need? A budget, a story kind of document that lays out the plan, some visuals or staging visuals, some concepts and ideas. There may be a bit of research required. And then what you do is once you understand what it is you're going to deliver, you then distill out the core skills that are going to be needed to deliver that. And then you think, okay, now I know that. Who are the people that are going to deliver this and how much do they cost? And it is quite a clinical process. If you start at the beginning and just get going, what's going to happen is you're going to keep picking up more and more cost and it will run out of control. And believe you me, you then wonder why you've spent so money on this enormous pitch when actually it's only making £2,000 worth of profit and you've spent £1,000 trying to win it. Big mistake. Yeah. Okay, last question. What do you think the future of events is or experiential? And I got to say, I think I did touch on this when we last talked. I think it's good. I know a lot of people thought it was bad when the digital era came in and we could all talk through digital and through multimedia and through video and web and all that sort of thing. But actually, we're now seeing what actually is happening, which is, people are sitting alone in their offices or in their bedrooms watching Netflix or going onto WhatsApp or whatever. Sort of, nothing beats looking somebody in the eye, giving them a kiss on the cheek or shaking their hand. That chemistry is key. And actually now in this digital world, it's becoming more and more remote. If you go into most people's offices now, they're empty because the world's working at home or in a cafe somewhere. So I actually think the need for events is now even greater because people get together even less. Yeah. Also, the digital world is creating all these new communities across the world that every now and again go, do it's great to be a community online, but actually, it would be good once or twice a year to get together. So I think the events world and the future of events is big. I think it continues to grow. The challenge is to understand that events are about quality of communication. So how do you maximize the interactions and the idea sharing and the learning when you get people together? And that is absolutely at the heart. Right, that's it. My desk is done. Hopefully I've cleared up all the questions. This is the Upside.biz, live and direct. See you soon.